Whenever a new map is released for Capital Supremacy, I always feel like going back to play some old school Battlefront to see what's changed over the past 15 years. How far have these games and maps come since I was a kid, and was Theed Naboo as pretty and beautiful a map as it is today? Apart from the raging war, of course, there's always a war happening in one of these Star Wars planets. Can never just go there to visit. Alright, let's find out. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. This is Battlefront 1 Naboo versus Battlefront 2 Naboo versus Battlefront 2 Naboo. First up, I think it's important to note that the original Battlefront game from 2004 actually had two Naboo maps, one in the city of Theed and one at the Naboo Plains where the Gungans take on the droid army in the Phantom Menace, otherwise known as the Windows XP background. The Plains map featured more spread out, large-scale gameplay, using the ancient Naboo elders statues as cover. I'm sure there's nothing ethically wrong with using these ancient statues as cover from blast of fire and explosions. Nothing wrong there. It's all good. Apart from some of the trees at the edge of the map, these statues were the only real landmarks on the grassy plain, and to avoid being shot, you'd have to hide behind them. So it's either your life or the lives of some dead people's statues. I think I'll choose myself. And you can also use the uneven hills and terrain as cover. In addition to Phase 1 clones, the map also featured AI-controlled Gungans on the Republic's team, along with rideable Cardu, which is the most awesome thing in this entire game. Riding a Cardu as a clone trooper is my dream come true. Now, the 2004 Battlefront 1 and 2005 Battlefront 2 Theed maps are basically the same. It's funny, if you look at the diagram of the map in the menu, they flipped the map upside down for the second game. Maybe they didn't think we'd realize it's the same map if they did this. Also, this one command post in the center is in a slightly different spot, but apart from all that, these maps are quite different to the map we get in Capital Supremacy. First of all, let's talk about the layout of the maps. Battlefront 2's map has quite a long, narrow design to it. Remember, this map was originally designed for galactic assault, meaning the objective was to direct traffic towards the palace. The old Battlefront maps are a bit more square-shaped. This command post in the center seems to be the most important and where things can get quite hectic. If you control this one, you have a better chance of getting more troopers to the outlying command posts faster, and you can use your hold on this to leverage control of the city. And then after we take the city, we can go back to the plains and exterminate all the Gungans for good. I think we all know this needs to happen. All Gungans must be exterminated from our memories also. That would be wonderful. So what's quite different between the maps is that none of the command posts in the new Battlefront 2 are anywhere close to the center of the map. They all lie on the outsides of the main pathway at the center, and there's no real one command post you can control that will give you a significant advantage in the battle. And that's why playing this map can sometimes feel like a constant back and forth chase between command posts. You'll take out everyone at one command post, then capture it, and then there'll be no enemies around until you run to the next command post and try take that. Then by the time you've done that, the enemy's already taken back the command post you just captured. There's no central way of controlling them all. It's just chaos and war and heartbreak and this beautiful city being destroyed by a droid army. What's also notable is that all the command posts in the new Battlefront 2 are outdoors and unsheltered. This was actually one of my complaints about the Geonosis map, where all the command posts felt the same and like they were just placed on a random patch of sand in the desert and there was no real reason for taking them. Like, I don't care if you have that sand and I have this sand, or I really don't need any sand. I'll just be with Anakin. But anyway, this isn't really a problem on Theed. Even though they're all outdoors, there's enough variety in the command post surrounds to make them feel varied and unique, and I don't feel like I'm fighting for control over a patch of sand. You know, it's all good. However, all that being said, I do love the locations of some of the old Battlefront 2 command posts. This one here is up a staircase. This one here is over a bridge across the river and inside a giant gazebo. And this one here is right dead in the center of the map. This is the crazy chaotic one I was talking about before. It's fantastic. I love it. Okay, let's get into a few more of the details of the map. If you haven't noticed by now, each map is set at a different time of day. I don't know how you wouldn't have noticed that. Battlefront 1 Theed takes place during the afternoon as the sun is beginning to set. Old Battlefront 2 Theed takes place at night. And new Battlefront 2 Theed is set at dusk. For me personally, Theed is easily one of the most beautiful settings for a map in these games. It's just stunning, and that really shows in the lighting of each of these maps. And now we enter the part of the video where I admire the many colors of Theed. Battlefront 1 is covered in yellow, orange, pinky hues, which really brings out the color in the city's stone foundations. It just looks fantastic. I love it. Battlefront 2 at night is dark and shadowy, but still lit up by the yellow house lights, gardens, and these blue and purple flags. New Battlefront 2's Theed is also covered in shadows, but has a warm glow to to it, created by fairy lights and the dying sunset, which make me feel that if this city wasn't populated by dead droids and clones and a raging war, it would be a remarkably beautiful, peaceful place to visit for a holiday, or even live. I would live here, definitely, yes. I saw this image on Twitter where it was like the last video game you played and the world you were in is where you have to live the rest of your life, kind of like a fantasy thing, pretend that happened. And I got Mustafar in Lego Star Wars, so I'm going to spend the rest of my days in Mustafar in Lego Star Wars, which is a horrendous platforming level, I should add as well, and I'm not looking forward to that. Alright, now let's talk about the river. In the new Battlefront 2, I was very disappointed to discover there's no way to jump into the river, to go for a swim, or to cross the other side. All I wanted to do is take a dip in this. Look how amazing it looks. I bet the water's quite pleasant and warm. However, in the old Battlefront 1, my dream kinda came true. You can go for a swim in the water, in which you'll immediately drown and die upon hitting the surface, but hey, at least I'm in the water. You can also get in the river as a droideka, who just after touching the water's surface will fall apart anticlimactically into multiple pieces. So I guess both these Battlefronts don't really provide the river bathing experience I'm looking for. However, in the 2005 Battlefront 2, yes, you can go for a good proper swim in the water, and it won't kill you immediately upon touching its surface. It's fantastic. You can just go swimming, and you'll slowly lose health if you stay underwater too long, like you're drowning, so you've got to jump up and down and come up for air every now and then. But what's even cooler, you can actually use the river to flank and get in behind the enemy, unless they realize you were there and what you were trying to do somehow and take you out. They got like a droid hive mind. They knew you were coming. They could see a bird's eye view of some idiot clone going for a swim in the water trying to get in behind them. Maybe I wasn't even trying to do that, man. Maybe I was just trying to enjoy the feed, river, and water. You know that's the case. I'm a simple man. Okay, now it's time to talk about some of the fixtures and art around the maps. There are some significant differences when you compare the palace from the old games and the new. There's no staircase leading up to the palace doorway in the old game. Instead, it sits behind barred gates and an archway with similar relief art to that in the new game. The newer Battlefront 2 palace steps are covered in the rubble of the palace's front fixtures destroyed by the MTT in Galactic Assault. The old Battlefronts also don't include any of the sculptures of Naboo philosophers and Gwalara that we see in the new Battlefront 2. The Gwalara, those dog, horse-looking strange things. However, there's an equal abundance of trees and city greenery in all games, along with flower beds. Lots and lots of pretty flowers on Naboo. Also, the flowers in the old game seem to follow you around, kind of like those eyes in the wall in haunted houses. That's what the flowers are doing here. Possessed flowers on Theed. Now, new Battlefront 2 Theed also has a heck of a lot more leaves constantly blowing around the city. This seems to be a problem with this Theed. It always seems to be quite windy here, or they just don't have street sweepers in this version of the game. They're not cleaning up the city. I guess there is a war. Or maybe it's a different time of year and all the leaves aren't just flying off trees like they are here. Intense, very aggressive fall season right here. One feature all these maps share are fountains, which can be used to splash around in and pretend you're still a child clone trooper back on Kamino. Perhaps the water from the fountain will give your clone trooper flashbacks to his childhood on the forever reigning planet of Kamino, and he'll experience some desire to return to his homeworld. Not sure why anyone would want to go back here though. I would much rather live in the middle of a constant war in a beautiful city than spend the rest of my days in this miserable excuse for a planet. This is literally the worst place I could think. I would rather stay on Mustafar, even on that terrible Lego Star Wars platforming level. I'll stay there. I'll take that over this raining miserable place any day. Also notable is that in the old Battlefront 2 maps, there's no aerial battle taking place over the city. The entire battle exists only in the city streets. There are also no giant capital ships floating overhead in the city. It's a more subtle invasion in the old games than it is in the new. Can you imagine if there was just a gigantic capital ship hovering above your city? You know how scary that'd be? Suddenly one day you wake up, you look out the window, there's a bloody invisible hand flying in the sky, or a Star Destroyer. Can you imagine that? That'd be ridiculously freaky. Even though in the Phantom Menace there are lots of droid ships occupying the airspace above the city, here it seems they've just dropped the droids off. They're like, you figure it out. Or maybe they'll come pick them up later, I have no idea. Available vehicles in all three maps are slightly different. Battlefront 1 includes the AAT and TX-130, both heavy tanks which are perfectly suited to the street combat and authenticity of the Battle of Naboo. Wouldn't it be cool if we could have these Naboo security speeders or flash tanks? You can actually play as these in Lego Star Wars on Naboo. Very cool vehicle. All the Naboo vehicles are really cool. I love them. It's like, yeah, the N1 Starfighter, man. It's where it's at. Old Battlefront 2 has AATs, but the TX-130s are replaced by ATR Ts, which are incredibly powerful in this game. You're probably even more powerful than TX-130s. You can flip the outcome of the entire battle in one of these things, and you can pilot one as the opposing team. That's one thing I love about these old games, the fact that both teams can use each other's vehicles. Really cool. The new Battlefront 2 themed vehicles include the AAT, STAP, TX-130, Bark Speeder, and ATR T, which all add to the chaos and diversity of the battle. Mixes things up a bit when an ATR T suddenly starts firing at you, although they're not as powerful as they were in the old Battlefront 2, still cool. Alright, let's talk heroes. As you might know by now, you couldn't actually play as any of the heroes or villains in the original Battlefront from 2004, but they do exist as AI characters if you turn them on in the settings. On Theed, we have Mace Windu and Count Dooku make an AI appearance. 2005 Battlefront 2 features a wonderfully overpowered Darth Maul, who's just an absolute beast at killing clones. I love playing as Darth Maul in this game. He's just got blades on both sides, chopping people up. You can throw your saber, it comes back and slices through someone. It's fantastic. And Obi-Wan's on the Republic side. And in the new Battlefront 2, you can of course play as any of the prequel era heroes. There's no immersion breaking Boba Fett flying around killing his clone brothers like he can in Galactic Assault. Thank goodness. I'm not sure how anyone could cope with this mentally, literally killing his brothers. But anyway, which is your favorite version of Theed? Or perhaps you love the old Naboo Plains map? Let me know your favorite map in the comments, or you can vote for your favorite map in the top right hand corner. And go watch my video where I compare the old droideka to the new droideka. They're actually very different. Very, very different. One is old and one is new. And follow me on Discord, Instagram, and Twitter for more Star Wars stuff, like pretty pictures of droidekas. We all love droidekas. Thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew, and I still need to book that holiday to Naboo. I want to ride a Cardu. Who wouldn't want to ride a Cardu, as long as there's no Gungans? You know what they say, kill all Gungans.
Stay bombastic.